which was about my intention being shifted between, like, oh, now I'm pushing, oh, now I'm matching colors, now I'm staying away from things. A lot of games do that, but they do it in a sort of less segregated manner. You know, maybe if you're playing a first-person shooter like Counter-Strike, you're shooting guys, right, and you're aiming, and now you're about to run out of bullets, so you go into like a hiding and ducking and reloading mode, right? So games have those mode shifts, but it was a really interesting study to make those explicit and to have nothing else but the mode shifts. And I was really excited by that, and actually, I've done 4 more versions of this game since then. This is probably, the 5th version of this game is probably my next game after Braid, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to show you one more prototype, which I did shortly after that one. And this one is very interesting to me because it was a large-scale prototype. It was a lot harder to do than any of the ones that I've shown you so far. It took 2 weeks to make, but they were really intense weeks. And the reason is because there's this core minute of gameplay like there was in that Raspberry prototype that I showed you, but there's also like a large-scale metagame. And that metagame was crucial in terms of being able, for me, being able to actually judge the playability of the prototype. So this game is called Painter, and what it does is it puts you into the shoes of a painter just straight out of school, and of course all painters, their goal in life is to be famous and get their art displayed in all the galleries around town. So that's what you try to do in this game. Because it's a prototype, it doesn't have the greatest painting interface in the world. You can sort of pick from these colors, of which there is not a full spectrum, and you can sort of scribble. I can change my brush size. I can, I can change from a wet brush to like a medium brush, or maybe a dry brush. So I have some amount of expressivity that might be interesting. And then the goal of this game is to paint things in different ways. And instead of playing through it, which will take a while, I'm going to flip through some slides and show you what it was about. So I wanted this game to be very nonlinear, allow lots of player creativity and choice kind of thing. But at the same time, I wanted to give the players an easy way in to get used to the interface and the way the game works without having to spend all this mental effort, like trying to make plans for things that they don't understand yet. So you're an artist first out of school. Nobody in any galleries wants to take your work seriously at all. But you very early on find a patron who's very interested in you copying paintings as well as you can, right? So he'll pay you to do this. And so that's sort of what you do. Because, the colors aren't very good and all that, and because I'm entirely not a painter, this is what my attempt ended up looking like. And he kind of liked it. He said he'd give me $475 for it. And so that's the first stage of the game, is you're just kind of copying things. You don't need to have creativity yet, and you're getting used to the interface. You can advance slightly. This is a speed paint mode, right? Where after you get up to a minute free, and then every second over a minute that you spend duplicating the painting, he'll pay you less, right? So that kind of encourages this sort of frantic scribbling while still trying to be as accurate as possible. And that, that was pretty fun. But then you do enough of that, and those guys know some guys on a board of directors of a gallery that owe them some favors, so you can sort of pay a bribe from the money you've earned and get your work looked at. And this is sort of what the game is meant to be, and the rest of it is sort of training you up to here. There's a bunch of galleries, and each of them has a board of directors, and there's sort of this incestuous thing going on where each director is on the board of multiple galleries, right? So this one has this guy T. Grady and Miller here on the right, and there's another gallery, Gallery Couscous, and he's also on the board there on the left, along with 3 characters who you've never met. And sort of the goal of the game is to figure out what these critics like and get them to accept your work. So the way you play is you submit your painting to one of these galleries, and these guys will vote on it, thumbs up or thumbs down, and they'll accept it or reject it. And so here, 2 of these guys liked my painting, and one of them didn't like it, but that was enough. To get in this gallery, I only needed 2 out of 3, because it's a pretty easy one. So I got in there. And, again, the goal is to get your painting accepted in every gallery in the game. Now, I can actually click on any of these thumbs up or thumbs downs, and they'll tell me why they voted that way, right? And this is the heart of the game, which is that each of these critics has different aesthetics that they're judging your painting on, which are, just various image algorithms on a programming level. I painted this sort of garish thing here, and this critic has sort of 2 things to say about it. The first thing is that she has this theory about how when you dip your brush into the paint, it gets a certain amount of energy, but then if you have really long brush strokes while you're painting, you sort of diffuse that energy, and the painting just can't be very emotional or powerful, right? That's sort of her roundabout way of maybe just saying that she doesn't like that you've got so many long brush strokes in here. But she also said a second thing, which is, hey, the colors here really contrast really strongly, and I really love that, right? And what I managed to do was I managed to paint a painting that nailed one of her preferences so well that as the player, I completely understand it now. And I have a dossier for each of these critics, and I have a list of the things that they like and don't like, and they start out as mysteries, but as I unlock them like that, they get displayed to me, and I can refer to them in the future, right? And so I can plot about how to get these people to accept my work. And so you can see of your portfolio what things she's ever commented on and what she thought of them, and it goes the other way around. You can look at something in your portfolio and see all the critics who ever commented. And there was all this, so that was a lot of work to get all that stuff together. And then the end game, where the game changes in character a little bit, is eventually you hopefully have unlocked all those different tastes and opinions that all those critics have. And you've got to try to get into some really hard galleries. Like maybe there's a gallery with 5 people on the board, and you need 4 out of them. But one of them really likes kind of drab, monochrome, gray paintings, and another one likes really colorful paintings, right? Well, what do? Like maybe you say, well, I'm going to make this painting moderately colorful so that both of them kind of like it, and they each have other tastes, like maybe pertaining to the style of brush used and stuff. And I'm going to try to appeal to those other tastes enough that they give me a thumbs up, that they can both give me a thumbs up anyway. Or maybe you say, like, screw that first guy, right? I don't need his vote, I only need 4 of the votes, so I'm going to consciously say that I'm just not getting his, and I'm going to appeal to the other 4, right? So this game really appealed to me because it had a lot of opportunity for player choice. And it seemed like a really creative indie game that hadn't been made before. It would be really great to play, and it would be if it was actually fun to play. But the problem that I learned through making this prototype is that it was not, despite being a very compelling game design on paper. And the reason behind that is sort of a tactile thing. Painting is a lot of work, even if you're not trying to paint something that looks great. And the core gameplay of this prototype was that you put a lot of effort into a painting, and then a bunch of people tell you that it sucks, right? And the turnaround time takes a long time. By which I mean, you might form a plan about what you're going to paint for these guys, but then it takes a long time to actually paint that, and then by the time you've done that, you've kind of lost your train of thought about why you painted this specific thing in the first place, and there's no flow. So there's maybe some solutions to that, like making painting more fun, or assisted, or faster, or maybe I can make another game design that has the same metagame with critics and galleries, or something isomorphic to that, but not about painting as the core activity and like something else. I don't know the solution to that, because I mothballed this one. Because I considered that to be too big of a problem to go forward with, again, from prototype into the multi-year development sort of mode. Now, a lot of developers I know would have taken a game like that and would have gone into the multi-year thing and made the game out of it, because they would have considered that prototype successful, right? But I'm taking intangible gameplay problems here, like lack of flow, or it kind of sucks to be told your painting sucks. I'm taking them very seriously, and I feel that that's a problem in the industry, is a lot of people don't take them seriously, because this is their baby, right? Like, oh, the gameplay kind of works, and it's hard enough just to get the game done, and they put it out the door, and eventually, their players have to tell them, like, oh, this actually isn't very fun, or the game reviewers have to tell them, oh, 5.0 out of 10, right? But if you really take an objective enough viewpoint, you can catch those things very early, right? I caught that after 2 weeks, what was potentially a very subtle thing to notice, I thought. So how do you pick what game you're going to make, right? My philosophy is, don't do games that are just kind of good or okay. You want to start with a great prototype. It's like, dude, you have to make this game, right? And so be prototyping always, and keep doing it until you find something that you have to make, and that's obviously better than all the other ideas that you have. And don't try to do this on a schedule, because the problem, mainstream game companies say, hey, we're going to have 2 to 4 months for like prototyping, pre-production, whatever, and then we're going to go into like production. And the problem is, maybe you just haven't found the awesome idea after 2 months or 4 months, or maybe it needs more work, and now you've committed yourself into developing this thing when maybe it wasn't the right idea, or maybe you haven't found the right iteration on it. And that can be disastrous. Again, it can mean that your game kind of sucks in the end, or maybe it doesn't suck, but it's not notable.